Our topic today is using robot space to clean up your disk storage. The cleanup functions in robot space are called storage audits. Storage audits are batch processes that will be submitted through a scheduler such as Robot Schedule to clean up old save files, old stream files, old journal receivers, and so forth that may exist on your disk, and you just don't have time to do the analysis to clean those up manually. To create a storage audit, it's simply a matter of right-clicking where it says Storage Audit and choose the Add button. The storage audit name can represent the frequency that you're going to run the cleanup process, or possibly what it will actually clean up, or any name that you would like to provide. In this case, I'm simply going to call it cleanup. And today we're going to demonstrate how to clean up save files and journal receivers. The first step in configuring the storage audit is to tell the audit what libraries to look at, what objects, what out queues, what portion of the IFS. In this case, because save files and journal receivers only exist in the library structure, we're going to simply say that we want to include all libraries in our audit process. Now, quite often what happens when you include all libraries is there might be certain libraries that you simply want to exclude. Also, we do have a global library exclusion list built into the product, some IBM libraries and so forth that you might want to exclude. Okay, so first of all, we've pointed the audit at all libraries. Next step is to include all objects, and that was their default. You could be more specific since we're only going to look at save files and journal receivers. But the cleanup processes will only touch save file and journal receivers, so including all objects should be just fine. Regarding out queues, IFS, and the age IFS, you really don't have to worry about that. Now, we are including all out queues by default, although we're not going to be cleaning up any old spool files. But I will point out that we do have a separate storage audit cleanup task that will delete old spool files based on this aging criteria. So in this case, we would look at all out queues that are included in our library filter, and we would delete anything older than 90 days. What most companies will do is they will include specific libraries and output queues and specific aging criteria that matches their records retention policy by output queue, rather than globally saying go age all of my output queues by a certain date range. But this will be the topic of another recorded tip. So we're going to remove this from our audit. Okay, so we've defined that we're going to look at all libraries, all objects. Now it's a matter of selecting the tasks that we want to include in our batch audit process. And our plan is, first of all, to delete unused save files. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see a list of all the various audits and cleanup tasks that are available. Some of these tasks will actually remove data from your system, old save files, old spool files, and so forth, or they will simply create a report such as listing duplicate IFS objects and library objects. By selecting the task on the left side and clicking on the Add button, you'll get more information. When you're first building your cleanup task, I recommend that you select a task action of none. So in this case, we're going to delete save files that have not been used for a certain number of days, and I'm going to actually change this to be 180 days. So if the save file has not been used in 6 months, basically, then ultimately we want to delete it. But we're going to take a corrective action of none, and we're going to print the results. from running this storage audit. So ultimately what you'll get out of it is a report that you can review. You can check with other responsible parties to see if this is appropriate. The other audit tasks that we wanted to do is to remove unused journal receivers, and we have two options. One will delete unused saved journal receivers. Our default criteria is 90 days. Once again, I'm going to print the results of running this task, and I'm actually going to make it much smaller. 90 days is a long time. We're going to make that 14 days. Likewise, we can remove journal receivers whether or not they have been saved. That option is called delete all unused journal receivers. I'm going to select print results, and I'm going to make this a little bit longer, 30 days. So after 14 days, we'll delete those journal receivers that have been saved. And once we get to 30 days, we just want to purge those as long as they're not attached to a journal and that they're at least 30 days old, regardless of save status. All right, we've got our 3 tasks defined to our storage audit. Once the storage audit is created, there are a couple of options to make this storage audit run in batch. One option is to simply submit it. It will submit immediately onto your system. The other is to click on the schedule button. If you do have robot schedule, we will create a job by this name that matches the storage audit cleanup process, and then you can edit the run parameters on that robot schedule job. Let's find the cleanup job that just got scheduled into robot schedule and look at the properties. If you do use the option to schedule the job inside a robot schedule, the job name will match the audit name. The application will be robot space. I chose not to schedule this, but we could, for instance, schedule it to run every Saturday at 6 in the morning. The command entry shows the SPC audit command in the RBT SPC lib library, and it specifies the name of the audit. If you don't have robot schedule, you can simply schedule the SPC audit command in the native scheduler or in another scheduling product, but certainly we hope you take advantage of robot schedule. I do have several other storage audits that have been running on my system for a while. I have one called Daily, and it cleans up old spool files. It creates an audit report of new or restored objects. It actually cleans up some integrated file system stream files. It does delete old save files. And I also am removing all unused journal receivers and listing physical files that are almost full, just to give you an example of what the storage audits can do for you. From the Robot Space Explorer, we can drill into the audit history. This will show you the history of your audit running. There is criteria around how many history records you want to keep. From here, I can drill into the spool files associated with each of the audits. Each spool file represents one of the audit tasks, and that's because I chose to create a report, totally optional, but each one of the tasks you can do that. Let's take a look at the various reports. Here are spool files from all the out queues that I'm purging. All right, if I go to the bottom and scroll up, you'll see that I'm purging from a total of 83 output queues, and 409 spool files were eligible for delete. The next report is all objects created or restored in the last 24 hours. This is a good audit report. Where'd my disk space go? Maybe somebody restored something to my system. Here's physical file members that are reaching at least 90% of their maximum record capacity. So you can be proactive and identify those files that need to be extended before you get that message in QSysOpper requiring a response. Here's our journal receivers that have not been used for 14 days or more, regardless of save status. There was one journal receiver that had last been used on June 16th. We ran this storage audit on the 30th, and yes, it went out there and cleaned up that journal receiver. Likewise, deleting save files that have not been used for 180 days or more. Well, keep in mind, I've been running my daily storage audit for many years now. So I'm continually cleaning up my system. So I keep my system very tidy. So in this case, there are no save files that need to be purged. And finally, deleting old IFS files that have not been used for the number of days specified on that particular audit task. We'll talk about that more in another recorded tip. Once you've reviewed these with the appropriate parties in your organization and they have agreed that the cleanup criteria that you've specified is correct based on your records retention policy, you can then go back in to your audit, click on tasks, and go into each one of your tasks and change the corrective action from none to delete save files. So what you can do is go into the properties of your storage audit, choose tasks, and then go into each one of your tasks and change the corrective action from none to the option to actually execute the delete function. The next time this storage audit goes to run now, it will actually go about doing the delete process. It will also create a report that you can review. So if anybody asks, well, when did that particular object get deleted off the system? You've got that in a report form. So if you do have any questions on cleaning up your system using Robot Space or any other question regarding the robot products, please contact technical support.